The classroom aboard the Galactic Learning Station Harmony 7 was filled with young students from 12 different species. They sat in hovering chairs designed for their various body types. Some had tentacles, others had multiple legs, and a few floated in small gravity bubbles because they came from gas planets. Professor Zix Varn stood at the front of the room. He was a tall, thin being from the planet Valoria. His skin was pale blue, and his 4 eyes blinked in a pattern that showed he was thinking deeply. Today was a special day in his planetary studies class. They would learn about a new world that had recently joined the Galactic Council. "Students, please give me your attention," Professor Zix Varn said in his soft musical voice. "Today we will study a planet called Earth. Its inhabitants call themselves humans, and they joined our council only 50 cycles ago." A small student named Crix raised one of his 6 arms. He was from the planet Melex, where beings were covered in soft purple fur. "Professor, I have never heard of this planet. Is it a new colony world?" "No, Crix. Earth is an ancient world. Humans evolved there naturally over millions of years." The professor touched a panel, and a holographic image of a blue and green planet appeared in the center of the room. Many students leaned forward with curiosity. The planet looked beautiful. It had swirling white clouds, vast blue oceans, and patches of green and brown land. "It looks peaceful," said Tana, a young female from the water world of Aqueous Prime. Her gills fluttered as she spoke through her translation device. "The blue color reminds me of home." Professor Zix Varn's 4 eyes all focused on Tana. There was something strange in his expression. "Yes, it does look peaceful from this distance. But I must warn you all, what you are about to learn may disturb some of you. Earth is classified in our records as a Category 7 Deathworld." The classroom went completely silent. Several students stopped moving entirely. A Category 7 Deathworld was the highest danger rating possible. Most civilized species avoided such planets completely. They were places where life should not exist, yet somehow did. "Professor, that cannot be correct," said a mechanical voice. It came from Drone Unit 447, a student from the robot civilization of Synthos. "My processors show that the probability of intelligent life evolving on a Category 7 world is less than 0.001%. And yet, here we are," the professor replied. He pressed another button on his panel. "Let us begin with the basics. I will show you why Earth received this classification." The holographic image changed. Now it showed the distance between Earth and its sun. Earth orbits a G-type main sequence star. The humans call it the Sunday. This star is incredibly violent. It constantly releases massive explosions of radiation and energy. These solar flares can travel across space and strike Earth directly. "But surely the humans have built shields against this?" asked Mirasol, a delicate being from a world with 3 gentle suns. "They have no planetary shields. They rely only on a magnetic field generated by their planet's molten iron core and a thin layer of gases they call the atmosphere." Several students gasped. The idea of living without proper radiation shielding seemed insane. "Now, let us discuss the atmosphere itself." The professor changed the image again. Earth's atmosphere is composed of approximately 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen. In quote, 21% oxygen? Crix jumped up from his seat in alarm. "Professor, oxygen is a highly corrosive and flammable gas. How can anything survive breathing that?" "Humans not only survive breathing it, they require it to live. Without oxygen, a human will die within minutes." The students exchanged worried glances. On many of their worlds, oxygen was treated as a dangerous industrial chemical. The idea of breathing it was terrifying. "It gets worse," Professor Zix Varn continued. "Because of this oxygen-rich atmosphere, Earth has a phenomenon called fire. Combustion can occur naturally and spread rapidly across the landscape." He showed images of forest fires. Massive walls of flame consumed everything in their path. The students watched in horror as trees the size of buildings were reduced to ash. "And the humans simply live with this?" Tana asked, her voice trembling. "They do more than live with it. They have learned to control fire and use it for cooking food, heating their dwellings and powering their early technology. Some humans actually choose to live in areas where these fires occur regularly. The professor moved to the next topic. Now, let us discuss Earth's water cycle. The image showed dark clouds forming over an ocean. Lightning flashed between them, and heavy rain began to fall. Water falls from the sky on Earth. The humans call this rain. But more dangerous is what happens when the temperature drops. The image changed to show white particles falling gently. This is called snow. It is frozen water that falls from the atmosphere. Frozen water falling from above? Drone Unit 447 processed this information. The impact damage alone would be significant. Individual snowflakes are quite soft, but they accumulate. In some regions of Earth, snow piles up to heights of several meters. Humans must physically remove it from their paths and homes. And there is something even more dangerous. The next image made several students cry out in fear. It showed balls of ice the size of rocks falling from the sky. They smashed through windows, dented metal vehicles, and left craters in the ground. This is called hail. It is ice that forms in storm clouds and falls at high speeds. It can injure or kill organic beings. It destroys crops and damages structures. How do humans protect themselves from this? Mirasol asked desperately. They often do not. They simply endure it, or wait for it to pass. Many humans continue their outdoor activities even during hailstorms. Professor Zixvarn paused to let this information sink in. His students looked genuinely distressed, but he had barely begun. Let us now examine Earth's tectonic activity. The image showed the planet's surface, but now it was divided into large sections that seemed to float on a layer of red liquid. Earth's outer crust is broken into massive plates that float on molten rock. These plates move constantly, grinding against each other. When the pressure becomes too great, the result is what humans call an earthquake. The professor played a video. The ground itself seemed to shake and roll like waves on an ocean. Buildings collapsed. Roads cracked open. People ran screaming through streets that were breaking apart beneath their feet. The ground moves on this planet? Crix whispered in disbelief. The actual ground moves? Frequently. Some regions of Earth experience thousands of earthquakes every year. Most are small, but many are devastating. Millions of humans have died in earthquakes throughout their history. And they still live in these areas? Tana asked. Yes. Some of the largest human cities are built directly on fault lines where earthquakes are most common. The humans call these areas home. The students could not understand this. On any rational world, beings would move away from such danger zones. But humans seemed determined to stay. Now, where tectonic plates meet under the ocean, we find something even more terrifying. The image changed to show an underwater mountain with smoke rising from its peak. These are called volcanoes. They are openings in the planet's crust where molten rock, toxic gases, and ash can escape. Professor Zixvarn showed video of a volcano erupting. A massive column of fire and smoke shot into the sky. Rivers of glowing orange lava flowed down the mountain's sides, destroying everything they touched. Clouds of ash blocked out the sun. A single volcanic eruption can change Earth's climate for years. It can destroy entire cities. The ash clouds can spread across continents and make breathing difficult for thousands of kilometers. This planet is trying to kill its inhabitants. Drone Unit 447 observed. I do not understand why the humans remain there. Perhaps they have no choice, suggested a quiet student who had not spoken before. Her name was Yex, too, and she came from a peaceful moon where nothing dangerous ever happened. Perhaps they cannot leave? They could leave now, the professor replied. They have developed space travel technology. They have colonies on other worlds. But most humans choose to stay on Earth. They call it home. They love it. This statement confused the students more than anything else they had heard. How could anyone love a planet that seemed designed to kill them? Professor Zixvarn moved on. Let us discuss Earth's weather patterns in more detail. The image showed a massive spinning cloud formation viewed from space. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, like a giant eye staring up from the planet's surface. This is called a hurricane. It is a rotating storm system that can stretch for hundreds of kilometers. Winds inside a hurricane can exceed 300 kilometers per hour. These storms can destroy entire coastal regions. How often do these occur? Mirasol asked weakly. Earth experiences dozens of major hurricanes every year. They form regularly over the warm oceans and move toward land. The next image showed a different kind of storm. A long, twisted funnel of cloud reached down from the sky to the ground. This is a tornado. It is a violently rotating column of air. Although smaller than hurricanes, tornadoes are even more intense. Wind speeds can exceed 400 kilometers per hour. They appear suddenly and can destroy everything in their path within seconds. Seconds? The humans have no warning? Sometimes they have a few minutes of warning. But tornadoes can form and strike very quickly. One particular region of Earth, which humans call Tornado Alley, experiences hundreds of tornadoes every year. And humans live there. Several students asked at once. Millions of humans live there. They have developed warning systems and underground shelters. But many still die each year. Yet they refuse to leave. The professor showed more weather phenomena. He explained monsoons that dropped enough rain to flood entire countries. He described droughts that lasted for years and turned fertile land into desert. He showed blizzards that buried cities under mountains of snow and ice. Earth's weather is in a constant state of chaos, he explained. The humans have tried to predict it, but it remains largely unpredictable. A sunny day can become a deadly storm within hours. The students sat in stunned silence. They had studied many planets in their class, but none like this. Earth seemed less like a homeworld and more like a testing ground for survival. Crix slowly raised his arm again. Professor, you said we would learn why Earth is a Category 7 Deathworld. Is there more? Professor Zixvarn's 4 eyes showed something that looked almost like sympathy. My dear students, we have only covered the geological and atmospheric dangers. We have not yet discussed the biological threats. Biological threats? Tana's gills stopped moving for a moment. Earth has approximately 8.7 million distinct species of life. Many of them are designed to kill and eat other species. This includes the humans themselves, who are predators. The word predator made several students shrink back in their seats. Most civilized species had evolved past the need for such violence. The idea of beings that hunted and killed for food was deeply disturbing. Tomorrow, we will continue our study of Earth, Professor Zixvarn said. We will examine the wildlife that shares the planet with humans. I suggest you prepare yourselves mentally. What you have learned today is only the beginning. The class ended, but none of the students moved. They sat in their seats, processing what they had heard. The beautiful blue and green planet still floated in holographic form above them, but now it looked different. It looked dangerous. It looked like a trap. Crix finally broke the silence. I do not think I want to learn more about Earth. But even as he said it, he knew he had no choice. Like all students, he had to complete the course, and somewhere deep inside, beneath his fear, something else stirred. It was curiosity. How had the humans survived on such a terrible world? What kind of beings could thrive in such conditions? The students left the classroom with heavy hearts and troubled minds. In their dormitories that night, they spoke quietly about what they had learned. Some had nightmares about falling fire and shaking ground. Others lay awake, trying to imagine what it would be like to breathe oxygen and drink water that fell from the sky. None of them knew that the professor had only scratched the surface. The true horrors of Earth were yet to come, and when they learned the full truth about humans, they would understand why the rest of the galaxy watched this species with a mixture of fear and fascination. Earth was not just a death world. It was a factory that produced the most resilient beings in the known universe. And those beings were now members of the Galactic Council, sitting in meetings with species who had never faced anything more dangerous than a mild breeze. The implications of this were something the young students would soon come to understand. For now, they slept fitfully, unaware that their education was about to become far more disturbing than they could possibly imagine. The next morning came too quickly for the students of Professor Zixvarn's class. They gathered in the learning chamber with tired eyes and nervous energy. Nobody had slept well. The information about Earth's environment had haunted their rest. Professor Zixvarn entered the room and noticed their exhausted faces. His 4 eyes blinked slowly with understanding. I see that yesterday's lesson affected you all deeply. I apologize, but today's material will be more challenging. More challenging than mountains that explode and air that burns? Crix asked, his purple fur standing up in anxiety. Much more. Today we examine the life forms that inhabit Earth alongside the humans. Please prepare yourselves. The holographic display activated, showing a peaceful scene of green land and blue sky. Animals moved through tall grass. Birds flew overhead. It looked almost welcoming. This appears calm, Tana said hopefully. Perhaps the wildlife is not so dangerous. What you are looking at is called a savanna. It is home to some of Earth's most impressive creatures. Let me introduce you to one of them. The image zoomed in on a massive animal with golden fur. It had a thick mane around its head and enormous teeth that showed when it opened its mouth. This is called a lion. It is what humans call an apex predator. It weighs up to 250 kilograms and can run at speeds of 80 kilometers per hour. Its teeth can crush bone. Its claws can tear through flesh like soft fabric. And humans share their planet with this creature? Yex2 asked quietly. They do. In fact, some humans pay money to observe lions in their natural habitat. They call it safari tourism. They pay to be near this killing machine. Drone Unit 447's processors hummed loudly. This does not follow logical patterns. The professor changed the image. Now it showed a massive gray animal with large ears and a long nose. This is an elephant. It is one of the largest land animals on Earth. It weighs up to 6,000 kilograms. Despite appearing gentle, elephants kill approximately 500 humans every year. They are territorial and protective. How do humans defend themselves against something so large? Mirasol's small body trembled in her seat. They often cannot. An angry elephant can outrun a human and crush them easily. Yet humans continue to live near elephant habitats and even work with these animals. The images continued. The professor showed them rhinoceroses that could flip vehicles with their horns. He showed hippopotamuses that looked peaceful but were actually one of the most aggressive animals on Earth, killing more humans than lions. Now let us discuss Earth's oceans, Professor Zixvarn said. Remember, over 70% of Earth is covered in water, and that water contains threats beyond imagination. The display showed an underwater scene. Suddenly, a massive shape moved through the dark water. It was gray with a pointed nose and rows of sharp teeth. This is a shark, specifically, a great white shark. It can grow up to 6 meters in length. It can detect a single drop of blood from kilometers away. Its teeth are designed to tear chunks of flesh from its prey. The students watched in horror as the shark attacked something in the water. Its power and speed were terrifying. Humans swim in waters where sharks live? Crix could barely speak. Constantly. Millions of humans enter the ocean every day for recreation, sport, and work. Shark attacks occur regularly, but humans continue to return to the water. The professor showed more ocean predators, box jellyfish with tentacles that caused agonizing death within minutes. Blue-ringed octopuses small enough to fit in a human palm but carrying enough venom to kill 20 adults. Stonefish that looked exactly like rocks but delivered the most painful sting known to exist on Earth. Even the beautiful creatures are deadly, the professor noted, showing a colorful cone snail. This small animal shoots venomous harpoons that can kill a human in minutes. There is no antidote. Why would any being enter these waters? Tana asked. As a being from a water world, she was particularly disturbed. Her oceans were gentle and safe. Humans are drawn to the ocean. They swim in it, surf on its waves, dive to its depths, and sail across its surface. They have always felt connected to it, despite its dangers. The professor moved on to smaller creatures. Now, let me show you something that terrifies even the humans themselves. The image showed a tiny creature magnified thousands of times. It had 8 legs, multiple eyes, and fangs dripping with venom. This is a spider. Earth has over 45,000 known species of spiders. Many are venomous. Some can kill a human with a single bite. How large is this creature in reality? Yex2 asked. Most spiders are quite small. This one, called the Sydney funnel web spider, is only a few centimeters. But its venom is extremely potent. The professor showed images of spiders of all sizes. Giant tarantulas covered in hair, black widows with their distinctive red markings, brown recluses whose bites could cause flesh to rot and die. Spiders live everywhere on Earth. In homes, in gardens, in forests, in deserts. Humans encounter them constantly. Many humans have developed an intense fear response called arachnophobia, yet they cannot escape these creatures. The display changed to show an even smaller creature. This one had 6 legs and long antennae. Insects. Earth has approximately 10 quintillion individual insects alive at any moment. That is 10 followed by 18 zeros. They outnumber humans by more than 1,000,000,000 to 1. Such numbers are difficult to process. Drone Unit 447 admitted. Let me show you why this matters. The professor showed a small flying insect with a thin body. This is a mosquito. It is responsible for more human deaths than any other animal in Earth's history. Mosquitoes carry diseases that have killed billions of humans over thousands of years. A creature that small? Crix leaned forward, trying to understand. Size does not equal danger on Earth. The mosquito spreads diseases like malaria, dengue fever, yellow fever, and many others. Even today, with advanced medicine, mosquitoes kill hundreds of thousands of humans every year. The students were beginning to understand something important. Earth's dangers were not just from large predators. The smallest creatures could be the deadliest. This brings us to the topic of disease, Professor Zixvarn said. Earth is home to countless microscopic organisms that attack and destroy organic life from the inside. The display showed magnified images of viruses and bacteria. They looked almost beautiful in their strange, geometric shapes. Humans have fought wars against these invisible enemies throughout their history. Diseases like the Black Death killed half of Europe's population in just a few years. Smallpox devastated entire civilizations. Influenza pandemics killed tens of millions in single outbreaks. How did humans survive as a species? Mirasol asked. It seems everything on their planet wants to kill them. That is precisely the right question, the professor replied. Humans developed something remarkable. Their bodies have an internal defense system called the immune system. It fights these microscopic invaders constantly, every moment of every day. He showed a video of white blood cells attacking bacteria inside a human body. The students watched as the human cells surrounded and destroyed the invaders. Humans are not passive victims. Their bodies are at war constantly. They fight against infection, disease, and parasites without even thinking about it. Parasites? Tana's voice cracked. Yes, Earth has countless organisms that live inside or on other organisms, feeding on them. Tapeworms that grow meters long inside human intestines. Tiny mites that live in the follicles of human eyelashes. Botflies that lay eggs under human skin, where the larvae hatch and grow by eating flesh. Several students looked like they might be sick. The idea of creatures living inside their bodies was beyond horrifying. Humans have developed ways to deal with these threats. Medicine, sanitation, vaccines. Their technology has reduced many of these dangers, but they have not eliminated them. Every day, humans must remain vigilant against invisible enemies. The professor paused and looked at his students with sympathy. I understand this is difficult to absorb, but there is more you need to understand about Earth's environment. He changed the display to show a beautiful forest scene with colorful plants. This looks harmless, yes? But Earth's plants are not innocent. Many of them are toxic or dangerous. The images cycled through various deadly plants. Manchineel trees whose sap caused severe burns and whose fruit was deadly. Nightshade berries that looked delicious but killed quickly. Giant hogweed that caused burns and permanent blindness on contact with skin. Even the forests attack humans? Crix shook his head in disbelief. The forests, the deserts, the mountains, the oceans. Every environment on Earth has found ways to harm or kill organic life. And yet humans have not only survived, they have thrived. Professor Zixvarn brought up a new set of images. These showed humans interacting with dangerous animals. A man was swimming with sharks. A woman was handling venomous snakes. Children were playing near elephants. This is what makes humans truly remarkable. They do not simply endure their dangerous world. They embrace it. They seek out challenges. They test themselves against nature's deadliest creations. But why? Several students asked at once. Because that is what Earth has made them. Generation after generation, only the strongest, smartest, and most adaptable humans survived. Their harsh world forced them to evolve into something extraordinary. The professor showed statistics on human physical capabilities. Humans could run for hours without stopping, eventually outrunning almost any animal on Earth through sheer endurance. They could survive extreme temperatures that would kill most species. They healed from injuries that would be fatal to others. Humans have a process called sweating. Their bodies release water through their skin to cool themselves. This allows them to remain active in heat that would kill other animals. They can chase prey until the prey collapses from exhaustion. They hunt by running? Drone Unit 447 found this inefficient but impressive. They hunt, they fight, they survive. For millions of years, humans had no advanced technology. They faced Earth's dangers with only their bodies and their minds, and they won. The students sat in silence, processing this information. Their fear was slowly mixing with something else: respect, amazement. These humans were not just survivors. They were warriors against a planet that seemed designed to destroy them. There is one more thing I want to show you today, the professor said. Something that demonstrates why humans are so dangerous to those who threaten them. The display showed a human body in detail. The skeleton was strong and efficient. The muscles were capable of generating significant force, but the professor focused on the brain. The human brain is remarkable. It allowed humans to develop tools when they had no natural weapons. They made spears when they had no claws. They made fire when they could not generate heat internally. They built shelters when they had no protective shells. They engineered their survival, Drone Unit 447 observed. They adapted their environment to themselves rather than adapting themselves to their environment. Exactly. And their minds can do something even more important. They can imagine, they can plan, they can dream of things that do not exist, and then make them real. The professor showed the progression of human technology: stone tools, bronze weapons, iron machines, steam engines, electrical devices, computers, spacecraft. In just a few thousand years, a heartbeat in cosmic terms, humans went from throwing rocks to traveling between stars. Their harsh world pushed them to innovate constantly. Every threat they faced, they eventually overcame. And now they are members of the Galactic Council, Yex 2 said quietly. They sit beside species that evolved on peaceful worlds. Yes. And this is why understanding Earth is so important. The humans who join our council, who serve on our ships, who walk among us, they carry the legacy of billions of years of survival. They are shaped by a world that never stopped trying to kill them. The professor turned off the display. The room fell dark except for the soft glow of various students' bioluminescence. Tomorrow, we will discuss human history. We will learn how they treated each other throughout the ages. We will see how they survived not just their planet but their own species. Their own species? Tana asked nervously. Humans are dangerous to all life, including other humans. They have fought wars among themselves that killed millions. They have created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. Yet they persist. They endure. They continue. The class ended, but the students remained seated. None of them wanted to be alone with their thoughts. The image of that beautiful blue and green planet haunted them. Earth, a world of death that had created beings of extraordinary power. Crick spoke first. I have a question I am afraid to ask. Ask it, the professor said gently. These humans, these survivors of a death world, They are our allies now. But what happens if they become our enemies? Professor Zixvarn's 4 eyes closed slowly. When he opened them, there was deep seriousness in his gaze. That is why we teach this class. That is why every student in the galaxy must learn about Earth. We must understand the humans. We must respect them. And we must ensure that we never give them a reason to see us as enemies. Because if we do, Yex2 whispered, then we will face beings forged by 1 billion years of death and danger. Beings who have never stopped fighting. Beings who have conquered every threat their deadly world has thrown at them. And we will learn why the universe trembles when humans go to war. The students filed out of the classroom slowly. They looked at each other with new understanding. Somewhere in this galaxy, there were beings who breathed poison, drank falling water, and shared their world with creatures designed to kill them. And those beings were now traveling among the stars, meeting new species, joining new communities. The aliens had asked to learn about Earth. They had wanted to understand their new neighbors. Now, they were beginning to regret that curiosity. Because the truth about humans was not comforting. It was terrifying. And tomorrow's lesson would be worse. The 3rd day of Earth studies arrived with heavy anticipation. The students walked into Professor Zixvarn's classroom with slow, reluctant steps. They had spent the previous night talking among themselves, trying to process everything they had learned. Some had researched Earth independently and found even more disturbing information. Others had tried to forget but could not. Professor Zixvarn stood at his usual place. But today he was not alone. Beside him stood a figure that made every student freeze in their seats. It was a human, an actual human from Earth. The human was female, with brown skin and dark hair pulled back tightly. She wore the standard uniform of the Galactic Council. But on her, it looked different somehow. Her posture was straight and confident. Her eyes moved across the room, taking in every detail, assessing every student. Those eyes were dark and sharp, like a predator scanning for threats. "Good morning, students," Professor Zixvarn said. "Today we have a special guest. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Initiative. She has graciously agreed to answer your questions about human history and culture." Commander Chen nodded politely. "Thank you, Professor. I understand you've been learning about my home planet. I'm here to help fill in any gaps." Her voice was calm and controlled. She did not seem threatening at all. But the students could not forget what they had learned. This peaceful-looking being had evolved on a death world. She was a predator disguised as a diplomat. "Before we begin questions," the professor said, "I want to show the students something important about human history." "Commander, with your permission?" "Of course." The holographic display activated. It showed a timeline of human civilization stretching back thousands of years. Humans have existed as a species for approximately 300,000 years. For most of that time, they lived in small groups, hunting and gathering. But about 12,000 years ago, something changed. They developed agriculture and began building permanent settlements. The images showed ancient cities rising from the earth. Great pyramids, massive temples, sprawling marketplaces. The students watched human civilization grow from scattered villages to organized kingdoms. With civilization came something else, the professor continued. Organized conflict. War. The display changed to show armies marching across landscapes. Soldiers in metal armor clashing with swords and spears. Cities burning. Bodies lying in vast fields. Humans have fought among themselves since before recorded history. They have developed increasingly efficient methods of killing each other. Let me show you the progression. The images moved through time: bows and arrows, cannons, rifles, tanks, aircraft dropping explosives on cities, submarines stalking ships, rockets launching toward distant targets. At the peak of their technological development, before joining the Galactic Council, humans created weapons capable of destroying their entire planet. These were called nuclear weapons. The display showed a mushroom cloud rising above a flattened city. The students stared in absolute horror. The destruction was beyond comprehension. 2 of these weapons were used in actual warfare, Commander Chen spoke up. The cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were destroyed in seconds. Over 200,000 people died almost instantly. And after this, Professor Zix Varn added, the humans built more of these weapons. Many more. At one point, they had enough nuclear weapons to destroy their planet multiple times over. Crix's voice was barely a whisper. Why would any species create weapons to destroy their own world? Commander Chen looked at him directly. Her gaze was not hostile, but there was a weight behind it that made Crix's fur flatten against his body. Fear, she said simply, and power. Different groups of humans wanted to ensure their survival against other groups. They believed that having the biggest weapons would prevent attacks. They called this strategy mutually assured destruction. Did it work? Tana asked. In a way. The major powers never used these weapons against each other. The fear of total annihilation kept them in check. But smaller conflicts continued constantly. Humanity has experienced only a handful of years without war somewhere on Earth. The professor showed more statistics. The number of humans killed in various wars throughout history. The First World War, 17 million dead. The Second World War, 75 million dead. Countless smaller conflicts adding millions more to the count. Your species killed each other in such numbers? Yex too could not understand. On her peaceful moon, violence was almost unknown. We did. We still do. In some places. Humanity has never fully achieved peace among ourselves. But we have made progress. The display shifted to show something different. Humans helping each other after disasters. Aid organizations delivering food to starving regions. Doctors treating the wounded in war zones. Volunteers building homes for the homeless. Humans are capable of great cruelty, Commander Chen said. But we are also capable of great kindness. We help strangers we have never met. We sacrifice ourselves to save others. We build as much as we destroy. This contradiction is at the heart of human nature, Professor Zix Varn explained. They are simultaneously the most dangerous and most compassionate species we have encountered. They can wage total war, but they can also perform acts of incredible generosity. The professor brought up new images. These showed humans pushing the limits of their own capabilities. Humans have a concept called extreme sports. They deliberately place themselves in dangerous situations for entertainment. The display showed humans jumping out of aircraft with nothing but fabric parachutes. Humans climbing the highest mountains on Earth, where the air was too thin to breathe. Humans surfing waves tall enough to crush buildings. Humans diving deep underwater into pitch-black caves. These activities serve no survival purpose, Drone Unit 447 observed. Why would humans risk death for entertainment? Commander Chen smiled slightly. Because we can. Because the challenge exists. Humans are driven to test themselves, to push boundaries, to overcome obstacles. It's part of our nature. We don't just survive our dangerous world. We seek out danger because conquering it makes us feel alive. Your species is insane, Crix said, then quickly covered his mouth, realizing he had spoken his thoughts aloud. But the commander laughed. It was a warm, genuine sound. Many species have told us that, and by your standards, you might be right, but our insanity is what drove us to the stars. When we saw the night sky, we didn't just wonder what was up there. We decided to go and find out. The professor showed Earth's space exploration history. Early rockets that exploded on launch pads. Astronauts dying in training accidents and mission failures. The slow, painful progress toward reaching the moon and beyond. Humans lost many lives learning to leave their world. Their early spacecraft were primitive and dangerous, but they kept trying. Every failure taught them something. Every death motivated them to do better. The first humans to walk on Earth's moon knew there was a significant chance they would never return home, Commander Chen added. They went anyway. They planted a flag and took samples and made history. Then they came back and sent more people. Mirasol raised a delicate limb. Commander, may I ask a personal question? Of course. Are you afraid? Living on such a dangerous planet, knowing all the ways you could die? Commander Chen considered the question carefully. Fear is useful. It keeps us alert and prepared. But humans have learned to function despite fear. We acknowledge danger, we prepare for it, and then we move forward anyway. Some call it courage. Others call it stubbornness. Either way, it's how we've survived. But how do you sleep at night? Tana asked. Knowing that earthquakes could strike, or storms could form, or disease could spread? We adapt. We build earthquake-resistant buildings. We track storms with satellites and radar. We develop vaccines and treatments. We don't ignore danger, but we don't let it paralyze us. Life on Earth taught us that tomorrow is never guaranteed. So we make the most of today. The students were seeing the human in a new light. She was not just a product of a death world. She was a problem solver, an adapter, a survivor who faced impossible odds and kept moving forward. Professor Zixvarn brought up a final set of images. These showed humans interacting with other species in the Galactic Council. When humans first contacted the galaxy, many species were terrified. They knew about Earth's classification. They knew what kind of beings such a world would produce. Some councils voted to isolate humanity, to prevent them from spreading through the stars. What changed their minds? Crix asked. The humans did. Instead of demanding entry through force, which they certainly could have attempted, they chose diplomacy. They learned galactic languages and customs. They offered trade and assistance. They proved that despite their dangerous origins, they could be valuable partners. Commander Chen nodded. We understood that we were newcomers to a much larger community. Our world taught us to fight, but it also taught us when to extend a hand in friendship. The galaxy had knowledge and resources we needed. We had resilience and adaptability that others valued. It was a natural partnership. But surely some humans resented this approach, Yex2 asked. Based on what we learned about human history, there must have been those who wanted to conquer rather than cooperate. There were. There still are. But the majority understood that cooperation was the wiser path. We had just spent centuries fighting among ourselves with increasingly destructive weapons. Most humans were tired of war. They wanted something better for their children. The professor turned to his students. This brings us to the most important lesson about humans. They are capable of change. Their history is full of violence and cruelty, but it is also full of progress and reform. They abolished slavery that had existed for thousands of years. They developed rights and protections for their weakest members. They created systems to prevent the worst abuses of power. They are still imperfect, Commander Chen admitted. We still struggle with inequality, conflict, and prejudice. But we keep working to improve. That is perhaps the most human trait of all. We never accept that the way things are is the way they must always be. The classroom fell silent as the students processed everything they had learned over 3 days. Earth was a death world. Humans were products of constant danger and struggle. They had fought wars that killed hundreds of millions. They had created weapons that could destroy planets, but they had also reached for the stars. They had chosen cooperation over conquest. They continued to improve themselves despite their violent nature. They were simultaneously the most terrifying and the most inspiring species in the known galaxy. Crix slowly raised his arm. Commander Chen, I have one final question. Go ahead. If another species threatened humanity, threatened Earth, what would your people do? The commander's expression did not change, but something shifted in her eyes. For a moment, the students saw something ancient and dangerous looking back at them, the predator that lurked beneath the diplomatic surface. We would do whatever was necessary to protect our home and our people. We would bring every tool of survival that our death world taught us. We would fight with weapons and tactics developed over millions of years of evolution and thousands of years of warfare. We would not stop until the threat was eliminated. Or we were. She paused, and her expression softened. But we would prefer never to reach that point. We have seen what war costs. We would rather find peaceful solutions. We would rather make friends than enemies. That is why we study your cultures, learn your languages, and work within the Galactic Council's systems. So humanity chooses peace, Tana said hopefully. Humanity chooses peace whenever possible. but we prepare for war always. That is the lesson Earth taught us. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. It is how we survived ice ages, plagues, predators, natural disasters, and our own worst impulses. It is how we will survive whatever the galaxy throws at us. Professor Zix Varn stepped forward to conclude the class. Students, you came to this course to learn about a new member of the Galactic Council. You wanted to understand the beings called humans. I hope these 3 days have given you that understanding. What we have learned, Crix said slowly, is that humans are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered, but also the most determined to prove they can be something more. The commander smiled at this assessment. That's a fair summary. We know what we are. We know what we came from. But we also know what we want to become. And we will keep working toward that goal, no matter how long it takes or how hard the journey becomes. The students rose from their seats as the class ended. One by one, they approached Commander Chen to thank her for speaking with them. Some were still nervous, keeping their distance. Others moved closer, their curiosity overcoming their fear. When the room was nearly empty, Yex too lingered behind. She looked at the human with her large, gentle eyes. Commander, may I ask one more thing? Of course. Your planet is so dangerous. Your history is so violent. Yet you speak of hope and improvement. How do you maintain that optimism after everything your species has endured? Commander Chen knelt down to bring herself to the small student's level. Her voice was soft but certain. Because every generation of humans has faced impossible challenges, and every generation has found ways to overcome them. Our ancestors survived ice ages with stone tools. They crossed oceans in wooden boats. They cured diseases that once killed millions. They walked on the moon and sent robots to distant planets. She stood back up and looked toward the holographic display, which still showed Earth floating peacefully in space. When I look at my planet, I don't see a death world. I see home. I see the place that made my species strong. I see billions of people waking up every day, facing challenges, and refusing to give up. That stubborn refusal to accept defeat is the greatest gift Earth gave us. And if the challenges become too great? Yex too asked. Then we adapt. We learn. We get stronger. That's what humans do. That's what we've always done. And that's what we'll continue to do, whether the challenge comes from our own planet or from somewhere among the stars. The commander walked toward the door, then paused and looked back at the small alien student. You asked why we're optimistic. The answer is simple. We've seen what humanity can survive. After everything our world and our history have thrown at us, we're still here, still growing, still reaching higher. If we can survive all that, we can survive anything. She left the classroom, leaving Yex 2 alone with the holographic image of Earth. The small alien student stared at the beautiful, deadly planet for a long time. She thought about everything she had learned, the violence and the kindness, the destruction and the creation, the fear and the courage. For the first time since the class began, she did not feel afraid of humans. Instead, she felt something unexpected. She felt inspired. If beings from such a harsh world could maintain hope, could strive for improvement, could reach for the stars despite every obstacle, then perhaps the galaxy had more potential than she had ever imagined. She made a decision then. She would request assignment to a human vessel after graduation. She wanted to see for herself how these remarkable beings lived and worked. She wanted to learn from their resilience. The galaxy had gained a new species as members of its council. They were dangerous, unpredictable, and shaped by a world that never stopped trying to kill them. But they were also compassionate, creative, and endlessly determined to be better than they were. The aliens had learned why Earth was a death world. They had regretted asking, at first. The truth was terrifying. But now, at least for one small student from a peaceful moon, that terror had transformed into admiration. Humanity had earned its place among the stars through blood, sweat, tears, and an unbreakable will to survive. And the galaxy would never be the same.